came from outer space to fill the world with terror, to bring you unforgettable suspense.
It's indestructible. It's indescribable. Nothing can stop it.
Shocktails with Johnny Thunder.
The Bates Motel Facebook fan favorite of 2015, master Q-Line entertainer, horror aficionado, and president of the Johnny Thunder fan club. It's our master of ceremonies, Johnny Thunder.
God, you know what? That's actually the nicest, I think, intro I've ever had on the show.
I'm getting soft in my
sentimental in your old age. Yeah. Yeah, I've heard you had a change of character. You've kind of softened up, and you've revealed that you're actually a really nice guy, and this has all been shtick for 9 years.
I think it's my the prostate cancer that really made me take a deep, dark look to
reassess myself. Your life. Yeah. Oh.
I still haven't gotten into my my doctor.
Good. Good.
This was a self-diagnosis. That's all I...
Oh. What, you watch like an episode of Bones and all of a sudden you're an expert?
Something like that, sure.
Yeah.
Hey, so you successfully made it through another round of cuts in the Bates Motel actor interviewing process.
Well...
You slipped right through once again.
I think it was a mistake. Yeah, mistakenly I was asked back this season again. I think there's been some sort of clerical error now. Sort of what was in Office Space. You know, that cat where he's like, my stapler, and he was like fired 20 years ago. So, yeah.
Have you been wondering where your paycheck has been? He'd say, I don't know. I don't understand that guy, Johnny Thunder.
Who is he?
Just keep that Bubba guy. He just keeps showing up. We haven't given him a check in like 5 years.
Well, that's what I'm always out there, and I'm always like messing around with people and stuff. And at one point, I'm always like, hey, by the way, I don't even work here. Shh, don't tell security they threw me out last night. And some people actually fall for it, which is pretty funny. But yeah, I just can't believe, and we say this. I'm like one of those old timers. Every year we say this, but can you believe we're at the end of September and it's basically Halloween again?
I know.
You know what I mean? Like I don't know where the year goes because it's, like it's pretty much like all we think about and all we talk about. But all of a sudden you're like, whoa, here we are again. It's crazy.
Yeah. When it gets to the summer and I'm like, shit, I need to start getting my stuff planned out and figuring out what am I building, what am I not building if I haven't already started something, and then. I start working on something, and like a month later, I'm like, all right, I pretty much got this one done. And I'm like, holy shit, now it's the end of September. And I was like, I don't even know what the hell happened there. But
even like when you're in trans world, it's like, oh, this is awesome. But, Halloween's, how many months away? Or like you had said, you don't have to start thinking about it until the summer.
Months away at that point or something,
But then even like before you know it, it's like, oh, my God, all of a sudden it's May, it's end of July, and all of a sudden now here we are in September. But... yeah, so Bates opening night was September 26th. Was September 22nd, and we'll pretend that it went very well. So we're looking forward to another great year. This is
were you on opening night? Were you in the queue line? No. Yes, maybe.
Yes. I was line entertainment on opening night.
All right, we're recording this on the 21st, so technically tomorrow night is opening night.
Oh, you ruined the theater of the mind.
I know.
Lord, what's wrong with you? Did you just get into radio, son?
Keep the ghost light burning.
So anyway, so I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be another great fun year.
What I really wanted to talk about, JT, is I wanted you to share some of your acting brilliance. Your acting brilliance with us, with some aspiring Q-Line entertainers or haunt actor wannabes out there who want to find out how Bubba does it. How do you bring it Every night you're out there.
Sometimes when you talk about it, you sound completely pretentious and you sound like completely out of your mind, and somebody wants to pop you in the face. But to me, and we've talked about this before, what I've always enjoyed and what I like the fact that where I am at the base, that you're always you're given a scene or you're given a position or sort of a character, but it's really up to you to build the character and build the background and approach it the way that you want to approach it. And what I like is, you're not given lines, you're not given sort of a specific drill as to what your character needs to accomplish. It's up to you. So I've always appreciated the fact that you can kind of do what you want to do in the situation. What makes sense within your scene. In my first year, I was in the slaughterhouse, so I'm in this shack and I'm looking around, like, what are the props? What are the angles? What are the scenes? How can you approach the crowd? And again, it's about the scare, but as Randy always says, it's also they're there for entertainment. So, and I've said this before on the show. Some people you might get a scare, and by scaring one person, they're being entertained by being scared, and then perhaps the friends with them are laughing at the person getting scared, so they're entertained. And other people might just really dig the atmosphere or the costuming, or they might just like, hey, I really did get my picture with you, and that was a really cool experience. So it's really, you've got to play to the crowd. You've got to know the audience, and that changes, especially in line entertainment, crowd entertainment. You've got to change basically from group to group, and even within your group, you kind of need to have a very quick read on your audience. Maybe you pick out somebody that you think is sort of the weak link, and you want to tease that person, and it turns out that maybe they're not the weak link, and then you kind of pivot and you go, oh, you're the one having fun, or maybe they're not responsive, and then maybe somebody else is sort of reacting to what you're doing, and then maybe you kind of go interact with them. And I like that it's a lot of improv. I'm actually pretty decent thinking on my feet. So it's a lot of fun, and I'm not bored because you're not, especially like I said, in line entertainment, you're not doing the same sort of, you have some basic lines, you have some basic routines maybe that you do, but it is also nice that because every night it's a different crowd, and like I said, from one end of the hayride line to the other end, you're dealing with totally diverse groups, totally different people, and it's an opportunity to really think on your feet and just live in the moment. You know what I mean?
Now,
it's not. Yeah. I was just gonna say, it's not like say I'm in the freezer scene. So maybe you have a couple lines, and because you're in this confined space and it's a defined scene with the defined props, you might kind of have the same kind of thing over and over and over, which again was cool. And I know a lot of people dig doing that. I just like being able to talk and do lines and just interact with the crowd.
Yeah, because when you're doing a specific scene, like when you were doing that little slaughter shack, right?
Right.
Who was your character in that? Were you doing the Bubba one?
Bubba?
Okay.
Yeah.
I love your range, Mr. Thunder. Your range is fantastic. All right, so you're doing Bubba. Now, your main, scare, you want to get a startle out of a group coming in, is that, you kind of yelling your first opening line, whatever, you'd have a couple of routines, a couple of quick lines?
Well, the other problem is, and what I've always said, it's kind of difficult for me. I'm not saying I don't get startle scares because I do creep up behind people, but I'm 6'5", and if I'm standing in the middle of the courtyard, it's a little hard to be inconspicuous, right? Yeah. I'm not exactly somebody that can blend in with the crowd for the most part. So I kind of use that to my advantage and sort of just like you said, just like, hey, here I am, and then kind of draw people in. But by the same token, as you're walking, a lot of people aren't paying attention, or they're talking and their heads are turned, and you just kind of creep up right behind them. Because I used to do that. Well, my second year when I was in the end scene in the motel itself, it was the funeral parlor scene. And what I used to do, there were a bunch of us in that room, and then at the end, people would run out. It was the final scene of the base motel. They would run out, and a lot of times I would follow people out. So maybe a girl would lose her boyfriend's hand, or she'd get separated from the crowd. I'd reach down and maybe put my arm around her, and she thinks it's the boyfriend. And all of a sudden she would turn and then scream and do a double take and, bolt down into the courtyard. Or I'd be like, and I'd grab her, grab some girl's hand, and she would turn again thinking it's her girlfriend or, her boyfriend or whatever, and scream and take off. So there are a lot of ways to do some kind of a startles, or even, like I said, somebody's on their cell phone. That's a great one where somebody's looking down at their phone, and all of a sudden I put my face down and they look up and there I am. So there's ways to move in the crowd, and and again, a lot of people obviously see you, so you kind of just work with them to the extent you can, and the people that you maybe can sneak up on and startle, you do that, or maybe sort of like pop around a corner, like around the pole, sort of going into the hayride or going into the corn maze. So there's a lot of different things you can do, and like I said, it's really difficult to I don't know that anyone can actually, at least for me, I don't know that I could actually say to you, this is how you act, this is how you do this. You can certainly work with people or, give people ideas, again, within a specific scene. You're going to be in this serial killer room, or you're going to be in this clown scene, or you're going to be in this chainsaw scene, and you can give, kind of look around and get ideas. But I think until you actually do it, and you understand, again, the limits of the room, the limits of the scene, the scope of what you're doing, how you might interact, it's trial and error. Because again, you might the first couple groups that go through, hey, I'm going to hide in this corner, and then you realize, oh, that doesn't work because the startle prop is over there, but they look right at me, or the lighting is better over here. So you're constantly, when you're in a scene, constantly making adjustments, constantly kind of learning, what I'm saying, as you go along. Even say from the beginning of the night to the end of the night, you're much better than you were from your very first time. And obviously every night you grow and you learn, and as seasons progress and you work in different scenes, it kind of becomes instinctual.
And the queue line, do you find is much more challenging because you have to do so much, like the improv, you got to be just constantly like changing gears and coming up with different shtick or whatever.
I dig it. I dig it. Like I said, I've been doing this. I was in assigned scenes my first 2 years. And then in between, if they need a fill in, I'll go and I'll fill in, or I'll, if somebody needs a break or somebody's hurt or if somebody calls out. But otherwise, most of the time I am online. I dig it. Like I would never, it's my preferred choice. I'm not saying, I would never go back to an assigned scene. But to me, the freedom, you know what I mean?
Me, sir.
No, stop. No, it's the freedom. It's always like, well, what scene are you in? And it's like, oh, I'm in this scene. And I'm like, I'm basically everywhere.
I am the scene.
Hey, is that another fat joke?
Everything is my scene.
I thought you were sensitive now. That was another fat joke. No, but I'm saying, like I've said before, in the courtyard, I'm outside, the line to the house, to the hayride, to the corn maze. I go in the gift shop. I'm over by the coffin ride. I'm sort of hanging out by the concession stand. I'm stealing, popcorn from people. You can do what you want where you want to go, which is awesome.
So what you're saying
I think it's the
unlimited
greatest.
Snacks.
I'm in it for the unlimited snacks. Thank you.
Hey, before we get too deep in the weeds, and you got any? No, I forget.
That's easy for you to say.
Who's sponsoring our shenanigans at the last bar on the left tonight?
Sponsors. I'm back to my perennial sponsor, Bell's Two Hearted Ale in the can. So I'm enjoying.
Just how you like it. But
I thought this was the reformed Chris Baker. But and do you have a sponsor on your end, Genius?
I'm constantly trying to repress and push that shit down all the time, and it just keeps coming back up again. Anyway, I got Blue Moon's Harvest Pumpkin Wheat Ale. It's pretty freaking good. Just the right amount of cinnamon. Just the right amount of cinnamon.
Easy for you to say.
I know, no shit. Just the right amount of cinnamon. That's where most pumpkin ales go wrong. But
what do they go wrong with? The cinnamon?
Yeah, they overdo it with the cinnamon.
Okay.
The most pumpkin ales, I'll always with people. Oh, this is great. I was in last week. I was in the liquor store, and the guy's like, "Oh, this is a pumpkin pie in your mouth," and I'm like, "Ooh, you're speaking my language. Let me check this out." It was overloaded with cinnamon. I was like, "Come on, this is bullshit." But actually, this Blue Moon's pretty damn good. Hits the spot. Cheers to you, Blue Moon. See, I didn't even come up with anything ridiculous or stupid this month. I'm
a little disappointed for that.
Doing a real no. There's no.
I mean,
there's no rim shot. No rim shot.
No, it's the Hauntcast Halloween Spooktacular on ice. I thought you'd have something super ridiculous.
You'd think. I was trying to be deep and serious this month.
Classic. Good luck with that.
Come on.
All right, so it's been 39 minutes and 20 seconds. Should we actually start the segment, or?
Hold on. Ready, set, go.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Halloween party at the last bar on the left. As the genius said, my name is Johnny Thunder, and I'm serving up Shocktails. So to get us in the Halloween mood, I wanted to recommend a couple books and a comic book that will, as I said, start to get you in.
Titillate you?
Yes, well, titillate you. Not to be confused with tickling your ass with a feather. This is the first book. I actually just finished it. It's been out for a couple years, but it's been on my to-read list, and I've just never gotten around to it. Vampira, Dark Goddess of Horror by W. Scott Poole. Now, if anybody's been listening to the show for a number of years, which again, God bless you if you have been, Scott Poole wrote a book a couple of years ago that I reviewed called Monsters in America. And it was a really, really interesting book because it really dealt with history, horror, and pop culture in America. And much the way that he approached that book is the same way that he approaches this Vampira book. Now, not to say that it's not a biography of Maila Nurmi, but it's about her life, but it also sort of uses her life and her role as Vampira and the creation of Vampira as a window to look at the culture, the political, sexual revolution, underground kind of status, world in which this character was created, and kind of goes through the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s into the 80s and 90s through her sort of approach to life and the way she created her character. So if you're interested in kind of the cult, underground and counterculture, it's a really, really interesting book. Again, it's Vampira, Dark Goddess of Horror. Now, a book I haven't gotten to again yet, but it's brand new. It's called Godzilla Facts, All That's Left to Know About the King of Monsters by Brian Solomon. It's like over 400 pages, and it's gotten some really decent reviews. If you're into the big monster and the big G himself, go check that one out. Like I said, I haven't read it yet, but I hope to very soon. Now, this is a comic book because, I love pictures, that I'm really, really stoked about, coming on October 25th from DC Comics. It's DC House of Horror. It's going to be a one-shot that is pretty kick-ass because it's going to be a bunch of horror and Halloween-themed stories set in the DC universe, written by horror authors, which is completely awesome, including Brian Keene, my man Brian Keene, Weston Osh, other dudes like Edward Lee, who's an awesome writer, and a bunch of other people, partnered with some of DC's best artists like Rags Morales and Harold Porter, Scott Collins, a bunch of other people. So it looks like it's going to be really cool because there's like a Justice League story. I think there's a Zatanna story. And it's going to be some straight up superhero horror stuff from some of the best minds in horror today. So if you haven't yet, go down to your local comic book shop and pre-order DC House of Horror. That will be set to release on the 25th, just in time, Chris, for Trick or Treat. Okay, maybe pick up a couple extra copies, give it out as an award to perhaps the best costume that comes to your house that night.
See, now you're thinking.
Yeah. Look at that. And do you smell the smoke? It's coming out of my ears because I'm thinking. So what else is going on? So, of course, September, October are kind of a hotbed for horror releases, although they tend to dump some stuff in February as well. But I just wanted to cover some. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but some horror releases that are either currently playing or will be coming up through the end of the year. There's a home invasion flick called Jackals. I think it's with Steven Dorff. I saw that it was out. It's actually on video on demand right now, September 1st. I don't really know much about it, but I was kind of intrigued by it. I think it's set in the 1980s, and it's, again, some sort of a home invasion flick, which I dig. So that might be something to look at. Of course, it's now playing. I believe we both caught that movie, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. Mother is also currently playing it with Jennifer Lawrence, and this is pretty much a very controversial release. I think a lot of people are saying they either love it or they hate it. And I think Aronofsky doesn't really care whether you dig it or you don't. I haven't seen it. I had a friend who's very much into film, not horror. He dug it, but he's also into very strange film. I'll put it that way. I'm not going to say pretentious film, but he's very much a student of the cinema. And he loved it.
One of them.
Right, exactly. Well, he even said it's not really, again, this is sort of mismarketing like we've talked about before. It's not really a horror movie. Now, again, Aronofsky, of course, did Black Swan, which, again, had, horror elements and so forth. So Mother's sort of in the same vein. I think you either loved it or you hate it. I believe if you're into more film and not horror, which my friend always says that with this condescension, and I'm like, okay, dude,
with
whatever.
Quotations and
yeah,
all
exactly.
that shit.
I'm like, well, he's like, well, it's not a horror. And I was like, all right, dude, enough. Relax. Oh my God, September 29th.
You took a film class in your community college. Relax.
September 29th sees the release of the remake of Flatliners, which I don't think anybody's looking for. I don't know who on God's earth would be looking for a remake of Flatliners. I mean, I think I liked it when I was a kid. I don't think I've seen it since I was a kid.
I've watched it a couple of times. I liked it.
I mean, I like Kiefer Sutherland, and but it's like, all right, whatever. October. Now let's move into October. October 6th, there's a flick called Better Watch Out. I think it's holiday themed. I don't think there's Krampus in it, but it's sort of this holiday themed horror movie. So if you're into that, go check that out. The following week on October 13th is a movie called Happy Death Day. Now, have you seen the trailer for that one?
No.
I only saw the trailer. I don't know. I'm going to check it out. Basically, it looks like Groundhog Day with this girl who keeps getting murdered. So basically, it's this girl that's in college. Every day she wakes up and she gets murdered by this guy in a hoodie with his baby mask. So she basically, every day she gets murdered, she tries to live longer to learn clues to try to solve her own murder. And the only way that she can break this loop of murder is to figure out who exactly is the person that's going to kill her on her birthday. So if that sounds interesting, God bless you and go check it out. Now, what's interesting about this? I had down Cult of Chucky, of course, Chucky the doll, as October 20th, but now I just see that I think it's coming out October 3rd, and I think that's on DVD, and I also think that's on Netflix. So if you're a fan of Chucky, look for a new Chucky flick. October 20th, of course, is Leatherface. As it seems, it's like Leatherface, the teen years. It's another one of those prequels that we just don't need. Where it's, I think, Leatherface, we get to see him as a little tyke, and he's growing up through his awkward teen years. His first kill,
rejected on his first, the first girl he asks out. He gets
or the first girl that he murders doesn't want to dance with him then at his own prom. So I know a lot of people are excited about that. I just don't see the use for this. I'm just sort of like, I'll see it on HBO in a year, but I don't know. Jigsaw on the 27th of October, I believe. This is the Saw franchise's return after what? I mean, this is like a number of years. So I know those movies got their fans. I'm not really a fan, but hey, there you go. You got something to do on Halloween week besides pick up that DC comic book. And then there's a movie called Polaroid on 12/1. I know you're always interested in Polaroids. Going back to your sock drawer as a kid. So there's something
I don't
called.
know what you're getting at there.
No, neither do I.
You're really stretching on that one.
Oh, really? Am I? So go check that out. All right. So look. All right. That's enough
You're
nonsense.
Really pulling on that. Jesus. Come on. I said I was going to clean things up,
I know. And you've completely degenerated into complete, utter nonsense.
I know.
All right. So should we do some reviews? The first movie that I saw was called Volumes of Blood Horror Stories. And this one actually was kind of cool. It's kind of about this couple who goes to buy a house, and they're sort of dealing with this realtor. But the whole movie, it's basically boils down to it's an anthology, which I dig, and I think a lot of people dig. And it's much in line with, I would say, Trick or Treat. Now, I'm not saying it's like Trick or Treat, but in the sense of it's a bunch of interlocking stories dealing with Halloween and killers and all kinds of like crazy nonsense. So again, if you understand the constrictions of what they had in terms of a budget and script and so forth, but it's really not that badly acted. I think, some of the people do a really good job. I think it's pretty fairly interesting. So if you catch it anywhere and you're into anthology films set around Halloween, I would say check out Volumes of Blood Horror Stories. So that's all I'm going to say about that one. The next movie I saw was called The Ice Cream Truck.
Hello, new neighbor. Hi. Hi.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
My husband is in Seattle another week.
Did you know that we have an ice cream truck? Something about him was so creepy.
Some things in this life are sacred. The ice cream truck being one of them. Good evening, young lady. What'll it be?
Now, of course, as the, let me say, my new avatar on Facebook, Chris, since you love to stare at it, my ice cream man character, Mr. Twisty.
Mr. Twisty.
Yeah, Mr. Twisty, which, again, thank you, Toxic Tunes. I came in second to fourth place on his Instagram contest. Thank you. I did.
Dude,
I almost
voted for
won
you.
fourth.
That's all I can tell you. I did my part.
Yeah. Look, he picked 3 winners, and then he picked 6 people to be up in the running for fourth place, and I think I got second for fourth place. So I almost won a mask, so I was pretty excited. Yeah, that was my wife. We did that in about 5 minutes. She took about 25 pictures, and the very last picture she took is the one that I entered, and I almost won. So thank you, Toxic Tunes. Thank you, Creature Revenge Studios, for my ice cream mask. It's like my sad Golden Globes award speech. Anyway, so the ice cream truck. This one was weird. It's kind of about this like chick who like moves back to the suburbs or something, and she's all alone, and like the husband hasn't shown up yet, and it's kind of weird. There's some sort of ice cream truck involved. The problem is also too, I think I saw this about 3 months ago, and I don't remember much else because I was pretty crocked when I saw it. So I'm not sure what to say about it. I think I remember saying, "Oh, this wasn't that bad." So I don't know what kind of review.
Why are you reviewing this?
Yeah, I don't know what kind of review this is, but
did we really need the filler? Did we really need it?
Listen, all my reviews this month are like this because we don't do a show monthly anymore. So I sort of
you're trying to catch up from 3 months ago.
Yeah, I kind of just write down what I saw, and I was like, "Oh, I saw that," and I remember not hating it. So,
hey, it didn't suck, guys.
I know.
That's always
okay.
my litmus test. It doesn't suck. All right.
So the next two
either sucks or it doesn't suck.
Well, that's why I think, like you said, I've been on the show for 9 years because you're like, well, it didn't suck, I guess. The next one I want to talk about is called Clowntergeist. Okay, so remember we just had Tsunami Bees. Now, Chris, this is Clowntergeist. How do you dig that title?
You know, I'm surprised you're still here. I would have thought you'd gone home for the summer.
Oh, no. Summer classes.
I'll bet you didn't know how sleepy this town gets once all the college kids go home.
Attention customers, the local police have issued an 11 o'clock curfew, so be sure to get home quickly and safely.
What's the curfew for?
A manhunt.
Call the sheriff.
Why?
The guy that they're looking for, I think he was here.
Here right now?
No, last night in my room.
Whoever did this left balloons just like that with my daughter. The date and time were written on that balloon. That's when she was killed. Did you get a good look at him last night?
He was dressed like a
clown.
Guys.
Jordan, get the door open! It's locked! Jordan!
He's demonic. He's possessed, but there was never an exorcism. It's a paranormal shitstorm, but physically he's still human.
So if we shoot him...
Then the demon leaves his body and he's dead.
That's sounds risky.
Are you afraid of clowns?
So Emma, a college student with a crippling fear of clowns, must come face to face with her worst fear when an evil spirit in the body of a clown is summoned, terrorizing the town she calls home. From that description, you think it sounds super craptacular, and you think it sounds completely low budget. Now, it does have a limited budget, but what's amazing about this, Emma's the lead. She has a best friend, a female best friend, and another dude that they work with. It's surprisingly well acted. And I don't mean to sound condescending about that because, I'm always a critic of, the acting was so bad or it was over the top or they tried to be funny and it wasn't funny. This was a pretty solidly acted film. And like I said, there's a clown. So anybody, again, if, you can't get out to see it, maybe you want to check out Clowntergeist. There's a clown running around. It was pretty well done. And I dug the fact that it was sort of this ghostly kind of demon that kind of popped out and did all kinds of things, but it was a pretty solid for a lower budget film. It was pretty solid. So I would say it's a good time. I was entertained. I wasn't angry. I think it's about an hour and a half.
You didn't throw your beer at the screen or anything like that?
Oh my God, would I ever waste a beer like that?
I know. What am I thinking?
I might throw my daughter at the screen, but I wouldn't throw my beer. What kind of heathen do you think I am? So I dug Clowntergeist. I thought it was a lot of fun. Another movie that I really, really dug, and I thought I would hate because it's a comedy. You know how I'm not a big fan of comedy horror?
Yeah.
There's a movie called Bone Jangles.
Today's hits, yesterday's classics. Here's a special bulletin. Supernatural serial killer Edgar Friendly, a.k.a. Mr. Bone Jangles, on the loose in the warehouse district. He's already killed 3 people tonight. Conventional weapons are useless against him.
All right, listen up, guys. Perp has already killed 3 people tonight. He should be considered armed and extremely dangerous.
Who exactly are we dealing with, guys?
Edgar! Just remember, he's coming for me, boy. He's coming for us. Go on and do your daddy proud.
For as long as anyone can remember, the town has been cursed.
Look upon me, mortals, in despair. The hour of your annihilation starts now.
So Bone Jangles was actually really, really cool. I really dug this one. So the plot basically is this. While transporting the legendary serial killer Bone Jangles to an asylum, a group of police officers...
English, motherfucker! Do you speak it?
A group of police officers break down in a town cursed with demonic zombies. The only way they can survive the night and save the town is to release Bone Jangles himself to help them fight the curse with something much worse. So this sounds crazy, and it is crazy. It's really over the top. It mixes sort of serial killer Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees with zombies, and again, to me, comedy is always a tough sell, but I really dug this. I thought it was well directed. I thought it was well acted. It was really, really funny. We alluded to it earlier. Of course, the latest adaptation of the Stephen King novel, It, is in theaters.
Did you tease them a little?
I did.
Our listeners just a little bit.
I tickled their ass with a feather. I did earlier in the program, if you were listening. Of course not. So I don't know how much we want to talk about the setup. I think everybody understands what this movie's about. I think everybody's familiar with the original TV adaptation, of course, with Tim Curry. And this thing has been cleaning up. I think it's been number 1 for the past couple weekends so far, and it's been raking in dough hand over fist. Here are my impressions of the movie. It's 2 hours and 10 minutes, which I always check just because you kind of need to figure out how long it's going to go, or where we are in terms of the film if you check your watch out and so forth. So here are my impressions. I was entertained. I thought it was a pretty solid movie. I thought it was solidly directed. I thought that the performances of most of the kids I thought were very spot on. I thought most of the kids had chemistry. I think Billy, the lead, and I don't know the names, but Billy and Bev really stole the show, and especially Bev. I mean, I thought she was just the one who really had the most meat to her role. That being said, I don't think that for the most part there was a lot of character development. I don't think you got to really know the kids all that well. They kind of go through this montage in the beginning to kind of establish, well, this is the fat kid, and this is the this kid, and this is this kid, and this is this kid, and this is their problem. So put it this way, I was entertained. I thought for the most part the performances were pretty cool. I thought they did a good job. I thought they had some good chemistry. I thought that it was competently directed. I don't know that there was anything really that stuck out to my eye in terms of cinematography or direction. Critically, I would say I thought the CGI got a little, and I've seen this in other reviews now that I've seen it. CGI got a little wonky in places. I don't even know that you need CGI, but again, it's 2017, and apparently nobody remembers how to do practical effects anymore. But again, surprised with the amount of money that they're spending on this and the push that they're giving it, that they would have some questionable CGI. Overall, I was entertained, and people are talking about, well, how's Skarsgård, Pennywise, how does it compare? And, he was fine. I don't even know that Pennywise is in the movie about 15 minutes total. It's again, as everyone knows, the story is really a coming of age story about these kids, which I dug. It was set in 1989. Of course, at that point, I was a little bit older. I was a senior in high school. But it's cool that they're walking through town. They're going to see Michael Keaton's Batman, or I think there's a Nightmare on Elm Street 5 is playing downtown or whatever. So that was kind of cool. But, much like other movies, again, from our childhood dealing with coming of age, you harken back to The Goonies, you harken back to Stand By Me, again, another King film. There was a definite cool vibe, much like Super 8. Remember a couple of years ago, the movie that I totally dug, where it was set in the same time period and kind of dealt with the same stuff. And yes, of course, I know people are saying, hey, this reminded me of Stranger Things. Well, yeah, because that's what Stranger Things is trying to be. I love when people say, I didn't like the new It because it ripped off Stranger Things. And I'm like, wow, you are a complete dum-dum. That is I've seen that a couple times, and I want to strangle somebody when they say that.
Stranger Things pulled from many different sources,
including absolutely. So, but back to Skarsgård. I mean, I it's fine. But my thing was, like, I think you put anybody in that makeup. I think you can do anything, put anybody in that makeup, and you'd be freaked out by anybody in that sort of makeup. And I'm not putting him down, but he's not really in the movie much. And when he is, there's a lot of this like startle scare kind of screaming nonsense. The opening sequence, again, I thought that was sort of mired by some unnecessary CGI, which I thought looked a little bit weird. But look, overall, I was not mad that I went to a matinee and I spent like $6. It was 2 hours and 10 minutes. The only thing was, I also felt it was a little rushed, which I know I've seen people say they thought it dragged, because this is also, I would say, I'm also trying not to give too much away, but I think everybody pretty much understands the plot, right? You've got a bunch of young teenagers who are coming of age, and there is a demon, there are children missing all over town, and they learn that there is some sort of force that arises, I think, every 27 years in their town, where people start going missing, and they piece together there's this demon, and this demon starts appearing to all of them, and they realize that it's this demon who takes the form of a clown or other forms that scare people, and they go to confront him at the house, and they try to get rid of the monster, and it basically also revolves around this boy Billy, who's trying to find his little brother Georgie, who disappeared a year before the film begins. He thinks he's still alive, and of course he's not. So but it also felt rushed in a lot of ways. Because there were some subplots that I thought just all of a sudden I was like, whoa. You kind of got an idea, okay, well, the bully's a bad guy, but then all of a sudden he kind of just accelerates very quickly in this storyline that's not set up. And I think maybe that would have been better set up with another scene in the movie. But overall, I wasn't mad about it. I mean, I was like, okay, because I wasn't even going to go see it. I was like, all right, well, like you had said for the show, let's go check it out. But, I don't think I was blown away. Is it scary? Again, I guess I'm dead inside. I'm not scared by much. But I actually enjoyed it more, like I said, as the coming of age story that it really is. And I said the performances by the actor that played Billy and the actor that played Bev. For the most part, a lot of the other kids aren't really well fleshed out. You don't really know much about them. But like I said, I left there and I was like, yeah, it was cool. I dug it. I don't know that it's the best horror film of 2017 or it's, the scariest movie you'll see all year. But I mean, I think if you go in sort of just, okay, this is what it is, I don't think you're going to be mad that you saw it. So that's my take. All right, well, genius. I think that's it. I think we should wrap this up.
Yeah,
I think it's last call.
Yes, you are absolutely right. Good call.
Of course I am. How dare you even question that fact? All right, well, everybody, thank you for listening. As always, this is Johnny Thunder saying, stay scary.
I'm going now. Heaven help you.
Please like and follow the podcast. Stalk us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Links in the description. And help us by sharing Hauntcast with all your haunted Halloween brethren. Until next time, stay scary.